My name is Tyler, and if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have told you my life was solid. Predictable. Safe. April and I had been married for 8 years. No kids yet, but we'd been talking about it. We had a small house in a quiet neighborhood outside Phoenix, a fixer-upper we'd poured ourselves into. It had the squeaky gate she always hated and a lemon tree in the yard that refused to grow. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Or at least I thought it was. That morning didn't start with coffee or the smell of toast. It started with silence, the kind that hums in your ears when your world is about to split open. I'd been up all night. Couldn't sleep. I paced for hours before grabbing my keys and sliding into the car, pulling it a few houses down from ours, just close enough to watch the driveway through the windshield. I didn't know what I was looking for, I just had a feeling. Something had shifted between us. April had been working late more often, spending more time on her phone, tilting the screen away when I walked into the room. I told myself it was in my head. I even tried journaling, journaling like some lost teenager because I wanted to believe I was the problem. Not her. Not us. But when that black cab pulled up to our curb just after 6 a.m., I knew I hadn't imagined anything. April stepped out first, clutching a white bakery box that said Donut World in faded red letters. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Her blouse was wrinkled, her jeans creased like they'd been worn too long. Her hair was tangled in that specific way that didn't scream messy bun but something more, rushed, disheveled. But it was the way she walked, nervous, fast, glancing back, that made my chest tighten. Then he got out. The driver was younger than me. Maybe mid-30s, good-looking in a smug, unbothered kind of way. I watched as he jogged to catch up with her on the sidewalk. He leaned in, said something I couldn't hear, and she let out this breathy, too-quick laugh. Then he kissed her hand. Not a friendly thanks for the ride gesture. No. This was slower. An asterisk mate. Like they shared a joke I'd never be part of. I felt like my bones turned to ice. She flinched not at the kiss, but when she saw me. She turned halfway up the walk and locked eyes with me through the windshield. Her entire face changed in a second. Gone was the surprise. No wide-eyed guilt or stammered apologies. Just that practiced smile. The one she used at parties when she was pretending to like someone's casserole. She waved. Hey, babe, she called, holding up the box like it was some peace offering. Got breakfast? I stepped out of the car slowly, still not sure if I was going to throw up or scream. My voice didn't work. My legs didn't either at first. She crossed the yard toward me, her steps a little too fast, a little too eager. Donut World had a new flavor. You always liked maple, right? She said. Her voice was chipper, but her eyes betrayed her. Wide. Darting. Her smile didn't reach them. Her hand was trembling as she held out the box. Long night? I asked finally, my voice hoarse. I wasn't trying to catch her in a lie, I just wanted to see how far she'd go to protect one. She hesitated just long enough for the silence to stretch. Ugh, yeah. Work turned into drinks, then Alicia needed a ride home and I couldn't find my charger. My phone died. The words came fast, like she'd rehearsed them. Maybe she had. I didn't mean to worry you. Her story unraveled the second it left her lips. April hated Alicia. Said she was exhausting. And April never let her phone die. She was one of those people who carried 2 battery packs just in case. I glanced back toward the cab. The guy was still standing by the car, looking right at us like he was trying to decide if he should leave or wait. When he noticed me noticing him, he gave a casual salute, got in, and drove off without a glance back. April followed my eyes. That was just the cabbie, she said quickly. He was being weird, honestly. I think he was flirting. Total creep. I raised an eyebrow. He kissed your hand. She blinked. Yeah. I didn't want to make a scene, so I played along. Her tone was matter-of-fact, but I could see it, the flicker in her eyes. She knew I wasn't buying it, and for a second I think she considered telling the truth. But instead, she doubled down. Anyway, she said, brushing past me toward the front door, I figured I'd bring us something sweet. You've been so stressed lately. Maybe this'll help. The lock clicked behind her, and I stood in the yard, staring at the closed door. There it was. The moment everything quietly collapsed, not with a fight or a confession, but with a donut box, a forced smile, and a kiss that wasn't mine. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe a minute, maybe 10. The sunrise started breaking across the horizon, washing everything in this sickly orange glow. Our front lawn looked almost peaceful, like any other suburban morning. But I knew something had changed. Something irreversible. I eventually followed her inside. She was already in the kitchen, lining up the donuts like nothing had happened. I watched her from the hallway, watched the way she kept glancing over her shoulder, waiting for me to say something. Anything. But I didn't. Because I didn't have the words yet. because something in me knew this wasn't the first lie she'd told me. Just the first I couldn't ignore. You don't notice the first crack. Not really. It starts as something subtle. A glance that doesn't linger. A sentence cut short. A missed call she doesn't mention until the next day. At first, you convince yourself it's nothing. You're overthinking. She's just tired. Work's been crazy. Everyone drifts a little, right? That's what I told myself. For months. After that morning with the cab, I didn't confront her. Not directly. I just watched. And what I saw confirmed what my gut had already screamed loud and clear. She was slipping away from me, and not by accident. April started taking her phone everywhere. I mean everywhere, to the bathroom, the garage, the laundry room. If I so much as walked past her while she was texting, she tilted the screen or angled her body like I was the nosy one. When I called her out lightly, gently, trying not to sound crazy, she'd laugh it off. Paranoid much, she'd say. Or my favorite, what do you think I'm Sting the pool guy? We didn't even have a pool guy. She wasn't cruel about it. She just made me feel dumb for noticing. Like she was 5 moves ahead and already scripting my lines for me. And the thing is, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that the reason she came home late 3 nights in a row was because her team at work was swamped. I wanted to believe that the lipstick smudge on her coffee cup wasn't a new shade I didn't recognize but just an old one from the back of the drawer. I even tried to convince myself that the faint, sharp cologne on her jacket was something from a crowded elevator, just like she said. But belief eventually collapses under the weight of too many inconsistencies. Like when she forgot she'd already told me about a late-night meeting and tried to spin a new excuse the next week. Or when I found a wine cork in the kitchen trash from a bottle I knew we hadn't opened together. Or when I noticed she'd started shaving more regularly, legs, underarms, even though we hadn't been made in weeks. I wasn't tracking her because I didn't trust her. I was tracking her because she gave me no reason to. One night, I picked up her coat from the back of a dining chair and found a parking stub in the pocket. From a downtown hotel garage. Dated the same evening she told me she was catching up on spreadsheets at the office. I didn't ask about it. I didn't storm into the kitchen and wave it around like some detective in a bad crime show. Instead, I quietly slipped it into a drawer. I started collecting things after that. Little things. A receipt from a cafe nowhere near her office. A napkin from a bar she once said she hated. A keycard envelope from the Fairmont with her name scrawled across the front. Maybe she forgot it was there. Maybe she left it on purpose. I couldn't tell anymore. The silence between us got heavier with every passing day. It was like living in a museum of what used to be a marriage, our smiles framed on the mantel, vacation magnets still stuck on the fridge, his and hers, mugs gathering dust by the sink. We still said good morning but without eye contact. Still said love you, but it sounded more like muscle memory than meaning. And then there was the perfume. I don't know why it haunted me so much. April used to wear this warm vanilla scent I loved. Subtle. Comforting. The kind of smell that made our bedroom feel like home. But then, out of nowhere, she switched. One day, she walked in smelling like citrus and musk, spicy, sharp, and nothing like her. I mentioned it once. She shrugged. Just felt like trying something new. That scent started to linger on the pillows, the bathroom towels, the inside of her car. Every time I smelled it, I felt like I was breathing in someone else's presence. Someone I hadn't met. Someone who knew a version of April I didn't. I stopped asking questions. I just watched, listened, waited. One Thursday afternoon, while she was in the shower, I noticed her phone vibrating on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a message preview, can't stop thinking about last night. No name. Just the message. She'd locked her phone months ago, so I couldn't read the rest. But I didn't need to. The dots were connecting faster than I could blink. I didn't say anything that night. I just lay next to her in bed, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled TikToks beside me, laughing at something she didn't show me. She turned the phone away when I glanced over. It was that moment, the ridiculous, heartbreaking normalcy of it all, that broke me more than the message. Because it wasn't just that she was cheating. It was that she'd built an entire world where I didn't exist. A world where her laughter didn't include me. Where her texts were someone else's inside jokes. Where her time, her energy, her secrets were no longer mine to share. And I realized something, I was already gone. I just hadn't left yet. It was our anniversary. 8 years. 2,920 days since we stood under a gauzy white arch and promised each other things we clearly didn't understand. And I know what you're thinking, why didn't I just confront her by then? Why didn't I demand the truth or pack a bag or do literally anything besides quietly suffer? Simple. I was still waiting for her to be the version of April I'd fallen in love with. Not the woman dodging eye contact across the dinner table. Not the one who smiled at her phone more than she smiled at me. I held onto the ghost of who she used to be like it was my job to resurrect her. But that night broke the spell. She said she had a work dinner, celebrating some new contract, something her team had pulled off last minute. All hands on deck, she said, brushing on lip gloss while staring into the mirror. She wore a sleek black dress I hadn't seen before, tight at the waist, slit just high enough to be noticed. Not what she normally wore to client dinners. "You look nice," I said from the doorway. "Thanks," she replied, not even glancing back. "Don't wait up, okay? These things run late." She was gone before I could say anything else. I stood there alone in the hallway for a full minute, just listening to the silence after the door shut. That was the moment I decided I couldn't live in the unknown anymore. I grabbed my keys and drove. I didn't have a solid plan. Just a vague memory of a restaurant she'd casually name-dropped 2 weeks earlier, someplace with rooftop views and overpriced cocktails. She'd mentioned it in passing, like she was testing how much I paid attention. I paid attention. I pulled into a parking garage nearby, took the stairs 2 at a time, and approached the restaurant on foot. It was one of those fancy places with massive windows that made everything inside glow like a movie set. A hostess smiled at me as I walked by, but I didn't slow down. I didn't need to. I saw her almost immediately. April was at a corner table by the window, bathed in golden light from a hanging chandelier. Across from her sat Griffin. I hadn't seen him in person in nearly a year. He was taller than I remembered, confident in that way that always rubbed me wrong. He was the kind of guy who thought every room belonged to him. At a company party years ago, he'd once asked me if I was April's assistant. Laughed like he was joking. He wasn't. Now he was leaning across the table, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. And then, just like that, he kissed her temple. And she smiled. No flinch. No protest. No sign of discomfort. She smiled. And I just stood there, outside the glass, like I didn't even belong in the same frame. I could have walked in. Could have made a scene. Could have dragged her outside and demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I turned around. Walked back the way I came. And I disappeared. No note. No calls. No suitcase left by the door. I just left. I drove past the city limits and didn't stop until the highway blurred into desert. It wasn't rage that made me leave. It was clarity. When someone shows you exactly who they are, there's no need for explanations. There's just acceptance. And action. I spent the night in a cheap motel 3 hours from home. Lay on the bed in the clothes I wore out, staring at a popcorn ceiling and listening to the buzz of a dying light bulb. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just let go. The next morning, I turned off my phone. Changed my email passwords. Sent one message to my buddy Josh in Santa Fe, still got that spare room? And started driving again. The sky was enormous out there. Empty. Untouched. It looked how I wanted to feel. Free. I didn't tell my family. Didn't tell her. For once, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. Because the truth didn't need a speech. She'd given it to me in the flick of a smile and a kiss that wasn't meant for me. You always think leaving is the hard part. Packing a bag, walking out, saying goodbye, those are supposed to be the big emotional beats. But for me, the hardest part came after. After the door had closed. After the road had stretched long behind me. After the motel checkout and the silent drive to Santa Fe. That's when the silence set in. Not peaceful silence. Not healing silence. This was the kind that buzzed in your ears and crawled into your thoughts like static, constant, and unrelenting. It followed me into the guest room of Josh's studio apartment, where I stared at the ceiling fan spinning above me night after night, wondering what she was doing. Whether she'd even noticed I was gone. I didn't check my phone for days. Didn't dare. I blocked her number and logged out of everything. But that didn't stop the questions from piling up. Was she scared? Relieved? Embarrassed? Had she spun some story already, made herself the abandoned wife in the tale she'd eventually share with friends and coworkers? Was Griffin still around? Or had he done what people like him do, disappear when things got real? It was my sister who finally pierced the quiet. 3 days after I left, she sent me a *T. April had posted a photo on Facebook, a black and white image from our wedding, of all things. Us on the beach, foreheads pressed together, the sun behind us like some cruel metaphor. The caption? My husband left without a word. 8 years gone in a moment. Please respect our privacy while I try to heal. No mention of Griffin. No mention of betrayal. Just a sob story wrapped in a filter and served up for sympathy. And oh, the comments. All her friends chiming in like they were mourning a death. You're so strong. We love you, April. You didn't deserve this. As if she were the victim. As if I were some ghost who vanished in the night for no reason at all. It would have been funny if it hadn't made me want to scream. Josh found me that night sitting on his fire escape with a bottle of cheap whiskey I didn't remember buying. I'd been reading that post over and over again, like maybe the words would rearrange into something honest if I stared long enough. "You okay, man?" he asked, stepping through the window. "No," I said. "Not even close." He sat beside me, handed me a hoodie. "You don't have to be." "Not yet." We stayed there in silence. But this one felt different. Less suffocating. More like space. The next morning, April's narrative kept spreading. A mutual acquaintance tagged me in a comment. "Say something, Tyler. People deserve to know what happened." I didn't respond. Because I didn't owe them anything. Not yet. But I'll be honest, it started to get under my skin. Watching her collect sympathy like it was currency. Watching her rewrite the script while I sat in exile. No one knew the version of April I'd been living with. No one knew how she'd disappeared before I did, one late night, one deflected question, one unread message at a time. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd erased me. And now she was playing the role of wounded, abandoned wife with the same conviction she used when lying straight to my face. It wasn't just that she cheated. It was that she made herself the hero of the story she ruined. At some point, I opened my laptop. I hadn't looked at her messages, not since I left. But I had synced backups. I knew where to find them. They were all their texts, emails, voice notes. One from the night of our anniversary. "April, don't wait up. Team dinner might run late. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. Love you." And another, sent 2 hours after I caught her at the restaurant. "April, please don't do this. We need to talk. I didn't mean for it to go this far." Followed by silence. And then 2 days later. "April, I miss you. He wasn't who I thought he was. Please. I made a mistake." That was the first time she said it. But it wouldn't be the last. I closed the laptop. I didn't reply. I didn't scream or post or retaliate. Not yet. Because the silence I gave her, it wasn't weakness. It was a decision. She had spent months controlling the story, the conversation, the pace of our relationship. But not anymore. This time I would choose when and how the truth came out. And when it did, it wouldn't be wrapped in filters or flowers or some black and white wedding photo. It would be raw. And real. And hers to carry. People say time heals everything. I don't buy it. Time doesn't heal. It just gives you enough distance to decide how badly you want the truth to hurt or set you free. It had been almost a week since I vanished from April's life. I hadn't replied to a single message, call, or email. I hadn't said a word to her or anyone connected to her. I hadn't needed to, because the illusion she built was starting to crack on its own. It began with a post. Another one from April. This time, her profile picture changed, a photo of her at a beach, alone, the wind catching her hair in just the right way. Caption, "Trying to heal? Still can't understand how people can leave without a word." She made herself look poetic. Like a character in a sad novel. But what she didn't expect was Griffin. 2 nights after that post, I got a message from my sister again. Another screensh *T. Except this one wasn't April's doing, it was Griffin's new girlfriend. Or should I say one of them? Apparently, April had never been the only one. She wasn't the secret. She was a secret. Griffin had been playing the field, juggling April along with at least 2 other women, one of whom had just found out through a photo April had posted of her anniversary dress. The same one Griffin's other girlfriend had seen on his bedroom floor the week before. It didn't take long for the web to unravel. Group chats got messy. Screensh *TS started circulating. An old coworker of April's, someone who'd never liked her much, posted a cryptic tweet. "Maybe don't throw a pity party when you're the one who lit the match." And then it happened. April messaged me again. This time it wasn't a demand. It wasn't even a full sentence. Just, "I didn't know. I'm sorry. I feel so stupid." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I felt bad, but because I didn't. She was finally tasting the same betrayal she'd fed me piece by piece. Cold. Slow. Quiet. But unlike me, she had nowhere to run. No clean exit. No silence to hide behind. Just the ugly truth creeping into every corner of her curated little life. I didn't answer her. I didn't need to. Instead, I opened my laptop. I didn't write a speech. I didn't record a video. I didn't write a long blog post or pour out my heart in a thread. I just posted facts. Screensh *TS. One from the night of our anniversary. Her message claiming to be at dinner with colleagues. Another. Her text the morning after, apologizing for what you saw. A third, her begging me to forgive her, because Griffin wasn't what she thought. No caption. No commentary. Just the dates. The messages. The sequence. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't even mention her by name. But everyone knew. And the people who didn't, they figured it out fast. I logged off afterward. Not to run, but because I'd said all I needed to say. When I checked again a day later, the comments told the rest of the story. Damn. Now this makes more sense. Wow. I totally misjudged the situation. I feel sick. She really tried to flip this on you. There was no hate. I didn't want that. I wasn't out for blood. I just wanted people to stop treating her like a victim in a tragedy she authored. And for the first time since I left, I felt something close to peace. I didn't get revenge. I got clarity. April, though, she got silence in return for every lie she told. She got to sit in the wreckage of her own story. Not because I burned it down, but because I stopped holding it up. And that was enough. I hired a lawyer. Chloe Hart. Sharp. Calm. Unshakable. She didn't ask for drama, just facts. I handed her everything. Screensh *TS. Timelines. Silence. Within a week, the divorce papers were sent out. April signed them fast. No fight. No apology. Just a sticky note inside with the words, "You're weaker than I thought." I didn't reply. I wasn't weak, I was done. I moved into a rental in the mountains. The air was thinner, the nights quieter. No more shouting matches. No scent of her perfume on the sheets. I woke up without dread. I cooked meals just for myself. There were no lies echoing off the walls. She thought walking away meant I lost. She never understood I wasn't running. I was returning to myself. A month later, I ran into her at a pharmacy. No makeup. Phone in hand. When she looked up and saw me, her face flickered. Recognition, hope, panic. I didn't stop. Didn't say a word. Not out of spite, but because I finally didn't need to. I wasn't part of her story anymore. And more importantly, she wasn't part of mine. Now I wake up early. Write music. See friends I lost track of. I don't wait for love to come back. I don't live in anyone's shadow. She was right about one thing. I had been stuck.